She came home in a black dress, kissed our daughter, and said she wouldn't be back until tomorrow. No explanation. No guilt. What I found in the next 48 hours destroyed my marriage. Another man, empty bank accounts, and a secret she desperately tried to hide. But I'm not the type to go down without a fight. My name is Michael Cooper. I'm 40 years old, and I've been married to Sabrina for 7 years. We have a daughter, Emma, who just turned 2 last month. I work as a warehouse manager for a distribution company in Cleveland, managing inventory and a crew of about 15 guys. It's honest work, pays the bills, and I thought was building us a good life. Turns out, I was building it alone. It was a Tuesday evening when everything started to unravel. I just gotten home from work around 6:30, picked up Emma from daycare, and spent the last hour doing the usual routine: dinner, bath time, story time. She was out cold by 7:45, her little hand clutching that stuffed rabbit she won't sleep without. I was in the kitchen loading the dishwasher when I heard the front door open. Sabrina walked in wearing a black dress I'd never seen before, the kind that probably cost more than my weekly paycheck. Her heels clicked against the hardwood floor like little hammers driving nails into my gut. She wasn't supposed to be dressed like that for her job as a marketing coordinator at some mid-sized agency downtown. Sure, they had casual Fridays, but this was Tuesday, and there was nothing casual about that outfit. "Hey," I said, wiping my hands on a dish towel. "Didn't expect you home this late. Everything okay at work?" She barely glanced at me, too busy checking her reflection in the microwave door while she touched up her lipstick. The gesture felt practiced, like she'd done it 100 times before. "Work ran late," she said flatly. Client meeting, right? In a cocktail dress. "Emma's asleep," I told her, trying to keep my voice neutral. "She asked for you at bedtime." "That's nice," Sabrina replied, but her tone suggested it was anything but nice to her. She dropped her purse on the counter and finally looked at me. "Listen, tomorrow I'm going out after work and won't be back until the next day." The words hit me like a sucker punch. I stopped mid-motion, a plate still in my hand, and stared at her. "What do you mean you won't be back? Where are you going?" She shrugged, like I'd asked her about the weather. "Just out with some people from work. We're doing a team-building thing. Probably crash at Sarah's place after." Sarah, her co-worker, the one I'd met exactly once at a company barbecue 2 years ago. "Team building," I repeated slowly. "Overnight." "Yeah, Michael. Is that a problem?" The way she said it, so dismissive, so cold, made my chest tighten. This wasn't the woman I married. That woman would have asked if it was okay, would have made sure Emma was taken care of, would have at least pretended to care about my opinion. "It's just sudden," I said carefully. "You didn't mention anything about this before." "Well, I'm mentioning it now." She grabbed her purse and headed toward the stairs. "I need to change and get some sleep. Long day tomorrow." And just like that, she was gone, leaving me standing in the kitchen with a sick feeling in my stomach that told me everything I needed to know. Something was very, very wrong. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. I lay there in bed next to Sabrina, listening to her breathe, wondering who the hell she'd become. The woman beside me felt like a stranger wearing my wife's face. Every little sound she made, the rustle of sheets, the soft sigh in her sleep, felt like evidence of something I couldn't quite name yet. Around 3 in the morning, I gave up trying to sleep and went downstairs. Made myself a pot of coffee strong enough to strip paint and sat at the kitchen table, staring at nothing. My mind kept circling back to that black dress, those heels, the way she'd announced her plans like I was some roommate she barely tolerated. Team building. The words tasted like lies. I pulled out my phone and opened her text history. The last few weeks told a story I'd been too blind to see. Short responses, one-word answers, hours between replies. When do we stop talking? When had "I love you" become okay and sounds good? I scrolled back further, looking for the moment things changed, but it was like watching a slow fade rather than a sudden shift. That's when I remembered something. Last month, Sabrina said she was joining a gym, said she needed to get back in shape after Emma, wanted to feel good about herself again. I'd encouraged her, even offered to watch Emma more so she could go. Supportive husband of the year, right? Except I couldn't remember her ever coming home sweaty. I set my phone down and walked to the hall closet where she kept her gym bag. My hands were shaking as I unzipped it, and I'm not sure what I expected to find. Maybe I was hoping I'd see workout clothes and feel like an idiot for doubting her. No such luck. Inside was a silk blouse I'd never seen before, folded carefully like it mattered. A pair of expensive heels, not the black ones from tonight, different ones. A small makeup bag with brands that cost more than groceries for a week. And, at the bottom, a box of mints and a travel-size bottle of perfume. No water bottle. No sneakers. No workout clothes. My chest felt tight, like someone had wrapped a steel band around my ribs and was slowly tightening it. I stood there holding that bag, and all I could think was how stupid I'd been. All those evenings she'd kissed Emma goodbye and told us she'd be back in an hour. She'd been going somewhere else. Doing something else. With someone else. I heard footsteps upstairs, Sabrina getting up to use the bathroom. I quickly stuffed everything back in the bag and returned it to the closet, then headed to the kitchen like I'd been there the whole time. When she came downstairs 20 minutes later, showered and dressed for work, I was still sitting at that table with my cold coffee. "You're up early," she said, barely glancing at me as she grabbed her purse. "Couldn't sleep," I replied, watching her carefully. She shrugged. "Well, I gotta run. See you tomorrow night." Tomorrow night. After her overnight team-building trip. "Sabrina," I called out as she reached the door. She turned, one hand on the doorknob, impatience written all over her face. "What?" I wanted to ask her everything right then. Wanted to throw that gym bag at her feet and demand the truth. But something stopped me. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was the last shred of hope that I was wrong. "Nothing," I said finally. "Have a good day." She left without another word, and I sat there knowing exactly what I had to do. I had to catch her in the act. Friday morning, I called in sick to work. First time in 3 years I'd use a sick day for something other than actually being sick. My supervisor, Danny, didn't ask questions, just told me to feel better and hung up. If he only knew what kind of sick I really was. I spent the morning making calls. The first one was to my buddy Jake from high school. He worked in IT for a security company and owed me a favor from when I helped him move last year. Time to collect. "I need to track a phone," I told him straight up. "My wife's phone." There was a pause on the other end. "Michael, man, you sure about this?" Wouldn't be calling if I wasn't. 20 minutes later, Jake was at my house with a laptop and a guilty expression. "This stays between us, right? I could lose my job over this." "I appreciate it, Jake. Really." He walked me through installing tracking software remotely. Apparently, Sabrina's cloud backup made it easy. Same account we'd set up years ago when we were actually partners in this marriage. Within 15 minutes, I had access to her location in real time. "You didn't get this from me," Jake said as he packed up his laptop. "Get what from who?" I replied. After he left, I sat there staring at my phone screen, watching that little blue that represented my wife. She was at her office downtown. Normal. Innocent. Just another day at work for a marketing coordinator who definitely wasn't planning to blow up her family tonight. I picked up Emma from daycare early, told them I was taking her to see her grandmother. Emma was excited. She loved visiting my mom. We drove across town to my parents' place, a modest ranch house in the suburbs where I grew up. Mom took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. "Michael, what's going on?" "I need you to watch Emma tonight and tomorrow." "Can you do that?" "Of course, but..." I cut her off. "I'll explain later on. I promise. I just need to handle something first." She didn't push, just pull me into a hug that almost broke me right there. My dad came out from his workshop in the garage, wiping grease off his hands. "Everything all right, son?" he asked. "Will be," I said, hoping it was true. "I just need to take care of something." Dad nodded slowly. He was an ex-Marine, tough as nails, and he taught me that sometimes you have to face hard truths head-on. You do what you need to do. "We've got Emma." I kissed my daughter goodbye, promised her I'd see her soon, and drove home with a plan forming in my mind. Sabrina had said she'd be home briefly to grab her overnight bag before heading out. I'd be waiting, but I wouldn't confront her. Not yet. I needed to know where she was really going. By 4 o'clock, I was parked in my own driveway, watching the tracking app. The little blue dust started moving. She was leaving work early, heading home. My heart hammered in my chest as I waited. Time to find out the truth. Sabrina arrived home at 4:30, pulling into the driveway like she owned the world. I watched from the living room window as she got out of her car, checking her phone with that little smile I used to think was for me. She walked in and stopped short when she saw me sitting on the couch. "You're home early," she said, suspicion creeping into her voice. "Took a half day," I replied casually. "Wanted to see you before your big team-building night." Something flickered across her face, Annoyance, maybe guilt. But she recovered quickly. That's sweet. Where's Emma? And my parents. Thought we could use the break. She nodded, already moving toward the stairs. Great. I need to grab my stuff and head out. I watched her go upstairs, listened to her moving around the bedroom. 10 minutes later, she came down with an overnight bag that looked way too packed for crashing at a coworker's place. So, Sarah's place, right? I asked, standing up. Yeah, should be fun. She was already halfway to the door. Text me when you get there safe, I said. She paused, turned back with an expression I couldn't quite read. Sure. See you tomorrow. The door closed behind her, and I counted to 30. Then I grabbed my keys and headed to my truck, parked down the street where she wouldn't notice it. I pulled up the tracking app and watched her blue to start moving. She wasn't heading to the suburbs where Sarah supposedly lived. She was going downtown, straight into the heart of the city. I followed at a distance, keeping several cars between us. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. The Bluta stopped at the Grandview Hotel, one of those upscale places with a rooftop bar and rooms that cost more than I made in a week. I parked across the street and watched. 5 minutes later, Sabrina's car pulled into the valet area. She got out, and my stomach dropped. She'd changed in the car. The work clothes were gone, replaced by a red dress that hugged every curve. The kind of dress you wear when you want someone to notice. Then I saw him. A man in an expensive suit walked out of the hotel entrance. Tall, probably mid-40s, with the kind of confidence that comes from money. He smiled when he saw her, and she lit up in a way she hadn't lit up for me in months. He put his hand on the small of her back, and they walked into the hotel together. I sat there in my truck, engine running, watching the entrance like if I stared hard enough, this would all turn out to be some terrible mistake. But there was no mistake. My wife just walked into a hotel with another man, and she'd lied straight to my face about where she was going. I pulled out my phone and opened the tracking app again. The Bluta had stopped moving. 5th floor, room 504. My first instinct was to storm in there, to drag her out and make a scene. But something stopped me. I needed more than just this moment. I needed everything. So I made a decision that would change everything. I opened my contacts and called the one person I knew could help me. Thompson Legal Services. A voice answered. Yeah, I need to speak with someone about a divorce, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. And I need it done right. I didn't sleep. Spent the whole night sitting in my truck across from the Grandview Hotel, watching that entrance like a hawk. Around 2 in the morning, I called the lawyer's emergency line and left a message. By 6 a.m., I had a text back scheduling a consultation for Monday morning. The sun came up, painting the city in shades of orange and gold. Beautiful morning for the worst day of my life. At 7:15, movement at the hotel entrance caught my eye. There she was, Sabrina, wearing the same red dress from last night, hair mess, walking out with that same man. He handed his ticket to the valet, and they stood there waiting for his car like they had all the time in the world, like they weren't destroying a family. I took photos. My hands were steady now. That initial rage burned down to cold determination. Click. Sabrina laughing at something he said. Click. His hand on her waist. Click. Him kissing her cheek as his black Mercedes pulled up. They got in together, and I followed at a distance. Figured he was driving her back to her car. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, they pulled into the parking garage of her office building. She got out, kissed him through the window, long enough to make my stomach turn, and then he drove off. I sat there watching her walk to her car, pulling out her phone, probably texting me some lie about having a great time at Sarah's place. My phone buzzed right on cue. Had a good time. Heading home soon. Need anything from the store? The audacity of it knocked the wind out of me. She was asking about groceries. I typed back, no. See you soon. Then I drove to my parents' house. Emma was already awake, having pancakes with my mom in the kitchen. She squealed when she saw me, syrup on her little face. Daddy, Grandma made Mickey Mouse pancakes. I scooped her up, held her tight, breathing in that kid smell of syrup and baby shampoo. My mom watched us with worried eyes. Michael, you look terrible. Did you sleep at all? Not much. Can Emma stay here a few more hours? I need to handle something at home. Of course. Take as long as you need. Dad walked me out of my truck, put a hand on my shoulder. Whatever you found out last night, son, you handle it like a man. You keep your head up and you protect that little girl in there. Everything else is just noise. Thanks, Dad. I drove home, parked in the driveway, and walked into the house I'd worked my tail off to buy. Our house. Except it didn't feel like ours anymore. It felt like a crime scene. Sabrina's car pulled up 30 minutes later. I was sitting at the kitchen table, those photos from this morning printed out and spread in front of me like a deck of cards. She walked in smiling. That fake bright smile she probably practiced in the mirror. Hey, miss me? I didn't say anything. Just pushed one of the photos across the table toward her. Her smile died instantly. She went pale, staring at the image of herself coming out of that hotel. Michael, I can explain. Don't. I said, my voice flat. Don't insult me more than you already have. She picked up the photo with shaking hands, and I watched her try to calculate how much I knew, what story she could spin. It's not what it looks like. I laughed. Actually laughed. You walked out of a hotel at 7 in the morning wearing the same dress from the night before. A hotel you checked into with a man who's not your husband. What exactly does that look like to you, Sabrina? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I made a mistake. No, a mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. I gesture at the photos. This is a choice. Multiple choices. Months of choices. Sabrina sank into the chair across from me, her hands covering her face. For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. How long? I asked. She didn't answer. How long, Sabrina? For months, she whispered. For months. While I was working overtime to save for Emma's college fund, while I was taking care of our daughter, while I was planning our future, she'd been planning this. Who is he? His name is Gabriel. Gabriel Stone. He's a client at the agency. Gabriel Stone. Of course he had a name like that. Probably drove that Mercedes. Wore suits that cost more than my monthly salary. Took her to hotels I couldn't afford. Does he know about Emma? About me? She nodded slowly. He knows I'm married. He knows I have a daughter. And he doesn't care. He says he loves me. The words hit like a physical blow. He loves you, I repeated. After 4 months. And you believe him? It's more than that, Michael. He sees me. Really sees me. He makes me feel alive. And I don't. She finally looked at me, and there was something cold in her eyes. You work 60 hours a week. You're exhausted when you come home. We barely talk anymore. When was the last time we went out? Just the two of us. So this is my fault. I'm working myself half to death to provide for this family. And that gives you permission to cheat. I'm not saying it's your fault. That's exactly what you're saying. She stood up, her voice rising. You don't understand what it's like. I'm 33 years old, stuck at home with a toddler, going to a job I hate, and you're never here. I'm never here because I'm at work, keeping a roof over our heads, paying for Emma's daycare, for your car, for everything. Well, maybe I don't want this life anymore. The words exploded out of her. Maybe I want something more than being a warehouse manager's wife. There it was. The truth she'd been hiding behind all those lies. I wasn't enough for her. My job wasn't enough. Our life wasn't enough. I stood up slowly, gathering the photos. You want more? Fine. You can have more. But you don't get to have Emma. Her face went white. What? I'm filing for divorce. Full custody. And these photos. I tapped the stack. These are going to my lawyer first thing Monday morning. Michael, wait. No. I'm done waiting. I'm done believing your lies. I'm done being the fool who trusted you while you destroyed our family. You can't take Emma from me. Watch me. You checked into a hotel room with your boyfriend while your daughter was home. You spent months lying, sneaking around, stealing time that should have been spent with our family. Any judge is going to see exactly what kind of mother you are. She started crying then, but I felt nothing. No sympathy. No regret. Just a cold, clear certainty that I was doing the right thing. Where is Emma? Sabrina asked through her tears. Somewhere safe. Somewhere you're not. She's my daughter. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you climbed into bed with Gabriel Stone. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. Behind me, I heard her sobbing, but I didn't look back. Couldn't. Because if I looked back, I might see the woman I married instead of the stranger who destroyed us. After Sabrina left, stormed out, really slamming doors and shouting about lawyers, I sat down on my computer and did something I should have done months ago. I checked her bank accounts. What I found made my blood run cold. Over the past 4 months, there were withdrawals I didn't recognize. 500 here, 800 there. Cash withdrawals from ATMs I'd never been to. Then the credit card statements. Designer stores I'd never heard of. Restaurants that charge more for one meal than we spent on groceries in a week, a jewelry store purchase for $1,200. I bought Sabrina exactly one piece of jewelry in the last year. A simple necklace for her birthday that cost me $200 and took me a month to save for. The total came to just over $18,000. Money that should have been going into Emma's college fund, into our savings, into the future we were supposed to be building together. My hands shook as I printed every statement, every receipt. This wasn't just adultery. This was theft. She'd been stealing from our family to fund her affair with Gabriel Stone. I called my lawyer's emergency line again. This time, someone answered. Michael Cooper. I left a message yesterday about filing for divorce. Right, Mr. Cooper. We have you scheduled for Monday at 9. What can I help you with? I need to know if my wife has been withdrawing money from our joint accounts without my knowledge. Can that affect the divorce settlement? There was a pause. How much money are we talking about? $18,000. Maybe more. I'm still going through the statements. That's financial misconduct. Yes, that absolutely affects things. Bring all documentation to your appointment Monday. This strengthens your case considerably. After I hung up, I kept digging. Found hotel charges from the past 3 months. Different hotels. Always on weekends when she claimed to be at work events or girls' nights. Each charge was $300. Money we didn't have. Then I found something else. A charge from a clinic downtown. $2,000. Paid 6 weeks ago. The name on the statement made my stomach drop. Riverside Women's Health Center. I called the number. Got a receptionist. I'm calling about a charge on my credit card from your facility. My wife, Sabrina Cooper, had an appointment 6 weeks ago. Can you tell me what it was for? Sir, I can't disclose patient information. I'm her husband. The charge is on our joint credit card. I have a right to know what I paid for. Another pause. Let me transfer you to our billing department. 10 minutes and 3 transfers later, I had my answer. Sabrina had gone in for a pregnancy test. It came back positive. Then, 2 days later, she'd gone back for procedure. She'd been pregnant, and she'd terminated it. Without telling me, I sat there staring at that receipt, and something inside me just shut down. This wasn't the woman I married. This was someone I didn't recognize at all. My phone rang. It was my mom. Michael, Emma's asking for you. Are you okay? I'm coming to get her now, I said. And Mom, I need to tell you something. Sabrina and I are getting divorced. There was a long silence. Then, I'm sorry, son, but Emma needs you. Whatever happened, you focus on her. I will. I promise. I gathered all the financial documents, put them in a folder, and headed out. Emma needed her father, and I needed to hold my daughter and remember why I was fighting this battle. Some things were worth protecting, no matter how much it cost. Monday morning, I walked into Thompson Legal Services with a folder 3 inches thick. Emma was with my parents, and I'd taken the day off work. This was too important to rush. David Thompson was in his 50s, gray at the temples, with the kind of steady gaze that made you feel like he'd seen every dirty trick in the book. He shook my hand and gestured to a chair. Mr. Cooper, tell me what's going on. I laid it all out. The affair with Gabriel Stone, the photos, the financial misconduct, $18,000 and counting. The pregnancy she'd terminated without telling me. Everything. Thompson took notes, his expression never changing. When I finished, he sat back and studied me. You've built a strong case. The financial misconduct alone is damaging, but combined with the affair and photographic evidence, this puts us in an excellent position for custody. I want full custody, I said. I don't trust her with Emma anymore. Understood. But I need to prepare you. Mothers usually get favorable treatment in custody cases, even with evidence of adultery. What we can push for is primary custody with her getting supervised visitation. That's not good enough. It might have to be, unless. He paused, flipping through the documents. This pregnancy termination. Did you want that child? I didn't even know she was pregnant. That's what I thought. Here's the strategy. We argue that she's financially irresponsible, morally compromised, and made a major medical decision without consulting you as her spouse. We paint a picture of someone who prioritizes her affair over her family. Combined with the evidence of her spending marital assets on her boyfriend, we can argue she's unfit. Will it work? If we present this right? Yes. But it won't be pretty, Michael. She'll fight back. Her lawyer will try to make you look controlling, jealous, unreasonable. They'll argue the affair doesn't impact her ability to parent. Can you handle that? I thought about Emma, about the kind of mother she deserved. I can handle anything if it means protecting my daughter. Thompson nodded. Good. We'll file tomorrow. She'll be served by end of week. In the meantime, I want you to open a separate bank account, transfer exactly half of your joint savings into it, and close the joint accounts. Document everything. What about the house? Who's on the deed? Both of us. But I paid the down payment from an inheritance my uncle left me. His eyes sharpened. Do you have documentation of that? Yes. The will, the bank transfer, everything. Excellent. That changes things. If you can prove the down payment came from your separate property, we can argue the house is primarily yours. She'd be entitled to some equity, but not half. For the first time in days, I felt a glimmer of hope. One more thing, Thompson said. This Gabriel Stone, do you know if he's married? I don't know. Find out. If he is, his wife deserves to know what her husband's been doing. And it gives us another angle if this goes to trial. I left that office with a battle plan and a sense of purpose. Sabrina had blown up our marriage, stolen our money, and betrayed our family. But I wasn't going down without a fight. Emma deserved better, and I was going to make sure she got it. The divorce papers were served on Thursday. Sabrina called me 15 minutes later, screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. You're trying to take Emma from me? Are you insane? I'm protecting our daughter from a mother who stole from her college fund to pay for hotel rooms with her boyfriend. That money was mine too. That money was ours. And you spent it on Gabriel Stone while I was working overtime to keep us afloat. She went quiet for a moment. Then her voice changed, softer, manipulative. Michael, we can work this out. We don't need lawyers tearing our family apart. You already tore it apart, Sabrina. I'm just cleaning up the mess. I hung up and blocked her number. All communication would go through the lawyers now. 2 weeks later, we were in court for the temporary custody hearing. Sabrina showed up with her mother, Carol, who'd been calling me nonstop, trying to convince me to drop the divorce. Carol had bought Sabrina's version of events, that I was controlling, that I neglected her, that the affair was somehow my fault. Thompson had warned me about this. Her family will circle the wagons. They'll try to paint you as the villain. Stay calm, stick to the facts. The judge was a woman in her 60s, Judge Patricia Henderson. She reviewed our filings with a stern expression that gave nothing away. Mr. Cooper, you're requesting primary custody based on financial misconduct and infidelity? Yes, Your Honor. My wife spent over $18,000 of marital funds on her affair, including terminating a pregnancy, without my knowledge. Sabrina's lawyer jumped in. Your Honor, my client's reproductive choices are not relevant to her fitness as a mother. I'll decide what's relevant, Counselor. Judge Henderson cut her off. She looked at Sabrina. Mrs. Cooper, did you spend marital funds on an extramarital affair? Sabrina's face went red. Yes, but... And did you terminate a pregnancy without informing your husband? It was my body, my choice. That's not what I asked. The silence that followed was deafening. Judge Henderson looked down at the documents again. Here's my temporary order. Primary custody goes to Mr. Cooper. Mrs. Cooper will have supervised visitation twice a week, 3 hours per session. We'll reconvene in 90 days for a full custody hearing. She banged her gavel. Next case. I walked out of that courtroom with Thompson, barely able to process what had just happened. We won. I asked. We won the first round, Thompson said. But she'll fight this. Be ready. But I was ready. I've been ready since the moment I found that gym bag full of lies. Over the next 3 months, I focused on being the best father I could be. Emma adjusted to the new normal, living with me and Grandma and Grandpa, seeing her mother twice a week at a supervised facility. Sabrina showed up late to half the visits, missed 2 entirely. I documented everything. Meanwhile, Thompson's investigator found out that Gabriel Stone was, in fact, married. His wife, a pediatric surgeon, filed for divorce 2 weeks after I sent her copies of the hotel photos. Stone's life imploded. His wife took him for everything, and the scandal damaged his business reputation. Sabrina blamed me for that too. Left me a voicemail calling me vindictive, cruel, heartless. I saved the voicemail and sent it to Thompson. The final custody hearing was in December, 3 days before Christmas. The courtroom felt colder than the winter outside. Sabrina's lawyer tried everything. Claimed I'd poisoned Emma against her mother. Accused me of being controlling, painted me as an obsessive husband who couldn't forgive a mistake. Thompson destroyed every argument with facts. Bank statements showing the theft. Photos showing the affair. Visitation logs showing Sabrina's pattern of missed appointments. Character witnesses, my parents, Emma's daycare provider, even my supervisor at work, testifying to my dedication as a father. Then came the moment that sealed it. Thompson called our nanny, Linda, who'd been watching Emma during some of my evening shifts. Mrs. Rodriguez, did you ever see Gabriel Stone at the Cooper residence? Linda nodded, her expression grim. Yes. 3 times. Mr. Cooper was at work. Mrs. Cooper had Mr. Stone over, and they were inappropriate. Emma was in the next room. The courtroom erupted. Sabrina's face went white. Judge Henderson banged her gavel. Order. She looked at Sabrina with something close to disgust. You brought your affair partner into your marital home while your daughter was present. Sabrina had no answer. The judge's ruling came down like a hammer. Primary custody to Mr. Cooper. Mrs. Cooper will have supervised visitation, reduced to once weekly pending completion of parenting classes. Child support will be determined based on income disparity. This court finds that Mrs. Cooper's actions demonstrated a pattern of poor judgment that is not in the best interests of the minor child. I walked out of that courthouse with Emma's hand in mine. My parents were waiting outside, both of them crying. You did it, son, Dad said, pulling me into a hug. You protected her. That night, Emma and I decorated our Christmas tree. Just the 2 of us in the house I'd fought to keep. The house bought with my uncle's inheritance that the judge ruled was primarily mine. Sabrina would get some equity, but the house was ours. Daddy, are you sad? Emma asked as she hung an ornament. No, sweetheart. I'm not sad. I'm grateful. For what? For you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. She hugged me tight, and I held my daughter close, thinking about how far we'd come. 8 months later, life had found a new rhythm. Emma was thriving, happy, secure, doing well in preschool. Sabrina saw her once a week, sometimes less when she had plans. The affair with Gabriel had ended badly. He'd gone back to his wife after the divorce, leaving Sabrina alone. Carol, Sabrina's mother, had finally seen the truth after Sabrina tried to borrow money from her to pay legal bills. She'd call me to apologize. I should have listened to you, Michael. I'm sorry for what my daughter did to you and Emma. I'd accepted her apology. Holding grudges wasn't going to help Emma. As for me, I was doing okay. Better than okay. I'd gotten a promotion at work. Management had noticed how I'd handled everything with grace. I'd reconnected with old friends, started going to the gym, even took Emma to the park every Sunday. I wasn't looking for another relationship. Maybe someday, but not now. Right now was about rebuilding, about being the father Emma deserved. One Sunday afternoon, we were at the park when Emma ran up to me, breathless and smiling. Daddy, watch me on the swings. I pushed her higher and higher, her laughter filling the air, and I realized something. I was happy. Actually, genuinely happy. Sabrina had tried to destroy us, but she'd failed. Emma and I were stronger than ever. We had each other, we had family, and we had a future that belonged to us. That was enough. More than enough. It was everything.